Composting in the desert, turning scraps into soil for the high desert homestead. Hey desert dwellers and eco-enthusiasts, welcome back to EcoAlchemy. I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey as we uncover how small actions can lead to big transformations in sustainable living. In our last episode, we dived into water systems and saw how building a pond could breathe new life into barren land. From dusty desert to thriving oasis, step by step, we're creating change. Today, we're tackling another transformative practice, composting. But not just any composting. This is composting tailored for the high desert, where the challenges are unique, but the rewards are worth every effort. Out here, composting isn't just about recycling scraps. It's about creating a fertile future, growing resiliency, and building the foundation for ecosystems that can flourish even in the harshest conditions. Ready to turn those scraps into magic? Let's jump in. If you've tried gardening in the desert, you already know it's no walk in the park. The soil here is dry, sandy, and, let's be real, has very little organic matter. Think of it like trying to bake a cake with no flour. It just won't work. Without rich, balanced soil, growing thriving plants is an uphill battle. That's where composting becomes your soil's superhero cape. It's important to acknowledge that the desert throws some real curveballs. The intense dry air seems to zap moisture out of everything, including the compost pile. And while the blazing sun might help speed up decomposition, it can also overcook your pile, drying it out before the microbes even do their work. Oh, don't forget that organic materials aren't always easy to come by in a desert environment. But remember this, every challenge here is also an opportunity to innovate. What we're doing here isn't just making compost for a small garden bed. We're laying down the building blocks for ecological renewal. By turning scraps and yard waste into nutrient-rich soil, we're not only nourishing plants, but we're also creating a cycle of sustainability that benefits the environment as a whole. So, how do we compost when the odds seem stacked against us? The key is to understand your environment and adapt your methods. Here's what I'm doing to overcome the desert's challenges and keep my composting dreams alive. The desert sun is relentless, and while it warms up the compost, which is necessary, too much exposure can dry it out completely. To counter this, I've set up a simple yet effective shade structure over my compost pile. This keeps the worst of the sun's rays at bay, creating a cooler, more humid microenvironment where microbes can thrive. It doesn't have to be fancy, repurposed materials work great, and it's a big win for sustainability. Moisture is like oxygen for the composting process. It's absolutely essential. Out here, evaporation happens fast, so I regularly add water to my piles and go the extra step of covering them with tarps or straw. Straw does double duty, shielding the pile from heat while locking in moisture. The goal is to create a balance. Too dry and the microbes stop working, too soggy, and you'll end up with anaerobic conditions and smells nobody wants. No matter where you are, compost relies on a mix of greens, nitrogen-rich materials like fruit scraps or fresh vegetation, and browns, carbon-rich items like dried leaves or cardboard. The beauty of desert composting lies in how inventive you can be with these layers. Cactus trimmings, for example, are gold in this environment. They're loaded with moisture but break down slowly, making them perfect for a slow-release nutrient reservoir. Composting isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, and in the desert, flexibility and experimentation are key. Here are the methods I'm using, so whether you have a big yard or a small corner, there's an option that can work for you. This is your classic pile of alternating greens and browns. It's low-tech, simple to start, and easy to maintain with occasional turning to aerate it. Perfect for beginners or those with space to spare. If you're tight on space or worried about animals getting into your pile, trench composting is the way to go. By burying scraps directly into the soil, you allow them to break down underground, enriching the surrounding area naturally. Bins help keep things neat and tidy while speeding up decomposition. Bonus points, they allow you to control the pile's moisture and temperature more effectively, a big deal in high heat. Worms in the desert? Yes, you heard me right. Vermicomposting uses worms to turn scraps into supercharged castings, which are like gold dust for your soil. If you can keep the system cool and moist, This is a game changer for any garden. Alright, let's talk materials. Building a compost pile means getting creative. Sure, kitchen scraps like veggie peels, coffee grounds, and eggshells are a given, but where do you find the rest in the desert? The key lies in making use of what's around you. Yard waste, like dried grass or small branches, doubles as brown material. Cardboard or shredded paper can fill in the gaps when organic materials run low. Cactus trimmings? They're worth their weight in compost gold. Got chickens? Their manure is packed with nutrients your compost pile craves. By sourcing these materials responsibly and looking at potential waste as a resource, composting becomes a full-circle sustainable practice. Here's where the extra magic happens. Composting isn't just about turning scraps into soil. It's an essential thread in the fabric of a sustainable desert homestead. Every time I spread finished compost around trees, shrubs, or ground covers, I see how this practice regenerates the land. It improves water retention in soil, boosts fertility, and even reduces the need for chemical fertilizers. I incorporate compost into half-moon irrigation zones, a technique that combines water conservation with fertile soil enhancement. That means every area becomes a productive microclimate, working in synergy with the broader ecosystem. Around the pond and garden areas, the compost supercharges plant growth, which in turn creates shade and protects the soil, nature taking care of itself. No process is ever perfect, and composting is no exception. But instead of seeing roadblocks as failures, I approach them as opportunities to fine-tune my method. Here's what I've learned to watch for. If the pile dries out, add more water and cover it with a tarp or straw. If decomposition slows down, chop larger materials into smaller pieces for easier breakdown or adjust your green to brown ratio. If there's a smell, mix in more browns and give the pile a good turn. It likely needs more air circulation. With each hiccup comes a better understanding of how to work in harmony with the desert's tough yet rewarding conditions. As we're building this high desert homestead step by step, every piece of the puzzle plays a role in the bigger vision. Composting might seem like a humble start, but it's the backbone of the self-sustaining system we're creating. It transforms waste into a resource and proves that nothing here goes to waste. In the bigger picture, this compost isn't just for the plants. Soil rich with organic matter has the potential to sequester carbon, improve water cycles, and foster biodiversity. It's a small action with huge ramifications for sustainability, locally and globally. Thanks for being part of this journey. In the next episode, we're diving into building the Shaded Pavilion, a multipurpose hub for rainwater collection, workspace, and extra shelter. Composting is just step one of transforming this homestead into a thriving, resilient haven. Every bucket of scraps and every new idea gets us closer to that goal. If you've got tips, tricks, or feedback for composting in the desert, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with fellow sustainability enthusiasts. Together, we're proving that even in the desert, we can cultivate a future that feeds both people and the planet. Catch you next time.